All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Michael Copps. I'm in office marketing back in Redmond, Washington. I work on a team where our core responsibilities are IT Pro, customer and partner readiness. So we work on tools, we work on events, we work on labs, online materials, anything to get you ready to deploy and use Office 365. I'm also with Ben. Ben, why don't you introduce yourself? They just saw you at the keynote.
Yeah, I'm still Ben Walters, the guy you saw on stage at the keynote. I'm also on the office marketing team, and my job is basically to be able to show you these products. So really excited to be able to show you a little bit more than what we had in the keynote this morning. So yeah, I'll be with Mike and hopefully get you excited about some of the things we have coming for Office 365.
Absolutely. Yeah, so today we're just going to dive into just the core features, functionality, and message of Office 365. What is Office 365? How has it changed, specifically over the past 6 to 12 months? First, I want to ask the audience, this really helps us in where we take this presentation. How many of you are currently using Office 365? Right? So that's certainly what we figured. We go around the world giving this presentation, and I would say this is certainly the largest percentage. As Jason said in the keynote, over 70 million customers, and so it's definitely fully penetrated, have a ton of customers. So really what we want you to focus on is what are you using in Office 365? Typically, most customers we talk to, there's certainly a potential to use more, to understand our latest innovation, starting with IT, make you aware of all the great features and functionality around productivity, and then having you relay that functionality to your users, to your organization, make sure everybody takes advantage, and really you leverage and realize your investment as an organization into Office 365. So, Jason talked about the core pillars of Microsoft. We're going to focus, obviously, on reinventing productivity in business process. That's Ben and I's specialty, so let's dive deep into what that really means. So Office 365, this was on the slide in the keynote, but it really is the most complete, secure cloud productivity solution out there to empower your employees. We truly believe that. If you look at the core pillars, authoring, we're all of us in this room are Office users, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote to a certain degree. Ben's gonna show you a lot of the new features that we've invested in those familiar Office applications that you know so well. I'll guarantee shows you some features that you probably weren't aware of, some that are in the process of hitting your tenant. So chances are you haven't seen it yet, but certainly features that will come to your tenant, if not now, very soon. Mail and social is another key pillar. We've all, most of us are using Office 365 for mail. Yammer has been part of Office 365 for some time, and I'll talk about, the certain reasons on why you would want to, have workloads on email, or maybe you want to have workloads on Yammer, maybe on SharePoint. Microsoft Teams. A typical conversation I have with customers is there's some confusion on when to use what. And so we'll dive into that a little bit. We also have sessions throughout the week that I'll share where we will dive deeper. We'll have presenters dive deeper into each of those specific areas. Like sites and content management, that's with SharePoint, OneDrive, Delve, being able to surface information across Office 365. Of course, the whole meeting platform, chat, voice with Skype and Teams. Hopefully after these 2 days, if you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, you will be, and you'll see how it fits into your organization. You'll see how it will work alongside of the rest of the Office 365 suite, including Skype. And then, of course, there's the analytics layer. Huge investment there. During the keynote, you probably heard a lot about intelligence. We have a significant intelligence layer on top of Office 365. We've got some great Power BI add-ins to help you track how your organization is using Office 365. And then Ben showed you in the keynote demo My Analytics. That's the intelligence on your personal productivity. Built for hyperscale, you saw the Azure regions that Jason talked about in the keynote. Here are our major Office 365 regions across the globe. Depending on where you're located, your billing address, that's the Office 365 region that you're put in for your organization, different from Azure, where you can actually go into Azure and choose where to put your servers. Over 300 billion user authentications, 200 billion emails, a ton of Skype meetings, and just a whole lot of stored data. So as you can see, Office 365 is here. It's absolutely a core investment of Microsoft's. Jason mentioned the uptime. Our SLA is 3 nines. We operate more around that, close to 4 nines, 99.98 uptime. And we're constantly improving our messaging back to customers on uptime, adding improvements, for example, to your monitoring dashboards, where you can see all the, service health dashboard, where you can see all the services running in your org. We're investing heavily on making that a much more personal view, where you could see your data center and actually the servers in our data center that matter to you, as opposed to just that overall general view. And of course, as Jason mentioned, 70 million active commercial Office 365 users. A few of that 70 million are in this room. We want to make sure you're leveraging that investment and using all these great features and functionality and really knowing about the latest and greatest. So we've broken down Office 365 into 4 major categories. We'll talk about the core collaboration tools. Obviously, mobility is huge. Ben showed you a great mobility demo. We'll talk about anywhere, anytime access, intelligence. What does intelligence mean on Office 365? Ben will share more intelligence features built within the application. And then, of course, none of those 3 items matter unless you obviously trust the service, right? So think of that 4th pillar of trust applying to the previous 3. So let's start with collaboration. I'll just give you a brief overview of our story. Keep in mind, throughout the next 2 days, starting right after this session, we have breakout sessions that dive deep into each one of these workloads. And at the end of the presentation, I'll share with you that schedule. So, like Jason said, collaboration is key. It's more important than it ever has been. We are asked to work with so many different teams inside and outside our organization. I think that's extremely common. So, we need to build a set of tools that aligns with that need. And so if you look at our needs on this slide, our needs are obviously, everyone needs email, site and content management. We need to work on our documents and work on documents together, share documents. How often are we working on a PowerPoint presentation, a Word presentation, and we need someone else's input, right? That's just becoming a standard way to work. We work better together. Voice, video, and meetings. These are all just needs within an organization, right? That enterprise social, connecting with everyone in your org, especially if you're with a large enterprise. How do you break down those silos so you're able to quickly just get a pulse of your company, see what other groups are doing without much structure? We'll talk about that. And then, of course, chat-based workspace. That need is obviously filled by our new offering, Microsoft Teams. So Office 365 brings all of these together. Prior to Office 365, or if you're not fully in on Office 365, you might have various tools serving these needs of this, that we have outlined here. What's great about Office 365, it's all integrated, working together. You have cross-solution integrations. For example, I could be working in a PowerPoint presentation, and I can click on a button to quickly convert that into a chat in a meeting with the other people who are also working in that PowerPoint presentation at the same time, right? So really cross-application, cross-service collaboration. And another big part, or I'll start with the first big part of our collaboration story is Microsoft Teams. It's brand new. We have a session coming up. I can't remember if it's today or tomorrow, but I'll share it at the end of the presentation. Microsoft Teams is our chat-based workspace for Office 365. Ben showed you what it really does. First and foremost, it allows me to chat with my colleagues. We're used to doing it in Skype, so does Teams replace Skype? In a lot of instances, it can. If you're running Skype and then you install Teams, your chats will start coming to your Teams, right? And then stop coming to your Skype. And then you can actually make it so you're getting them on both if you're not quite into Teams. So it's really up for you to decide. But as you start using Teams, you'll start creating those channels that Ben showed you specific to each project. You could have specific conversations that aren't user-based, meaning I don't just start a conversation with two of my colleagues in the chat space, but I'll start the conversation within that specific channel, within that project, and then that history always stays right within that project. Anytime somebody wants to go in and check out that project, they could contribute to that conversation. They can go in and see a history of that conversation. The conversation's real time. That's why we call it persistent chat. And what's great about Teams is the integration. If I'm in Outlook, we're familiar with using groups. I believe Ben is going to show you, our methodology around groups. Groups, don't think of groups as a product. It's basically, think of it as like the glue that ties everything together. I'll create, or IT will create a group within Outlook. I'll open up Outlook, I'll see that group in the place where historically I've seen like public folders, for example, or the next generation was site mailboxes within my Outlook, a place in Outlook where I can collaborate. Now it is your group. What's great about the group is when I log into Teams, those groups that I have in Outlook are right there in my Teams. So I can build upon that experience. Maybe I'm collaborating in Outlook, but I want to go to my Teams and I'll have that same content, but I'll be able to leverage the features of Microsoft Teams when I'm in that channel for that group. So, moving on our collaboration story, we have SharePoint, of course. Probably many of you in the room are familiar with SharePoint, specialize in SharePoint. Typically for sharing files, storing files. SharePoint works hand in hand with OneDrive, right? OneDrive's for more of that personal sharing experience where I will sync my files from my own computer up into OneDrive, and I have that peace of mind that my files are always on OneDrive. I can access them from any device. I can access them from someone else's computer. If I just log into my Office 365, a kiosk computer, from my phone, access them from pretty much anywhere. SharePoint's also an open and connected platform, so we've made huge investments in connecting into SharePoint. If you're familiar with the Office App Store, you can go in, you can download add-ins for SharePoint, third-party add-ins, something like maybe a Nintex workflow. If you really want to go beyond what SharePoint offers in workflows, you could use rich third-party applications built right on top of SharePoint. So they're not built using the code of SharePoint, but they just lie right on top. Why is that important? Because when we upgrade SharePoint on the back end, we add a new version, those apps keep on working, right? Before we had the solution gallery in SharePoint that leveraged the code of SharePoint. We scrapped that model because when we did do updates, it tended to break those third-party apps. So also huge investment in SharePoint is in intelligence, surfacing data, right? There's so much data out there, especially on SharePoint. So if I can log into SharePoint and instead of clicking on my SharePoint icon and just seeing our corporate intranet, for example, I will just see the sites that I visit regularly. Based on the sites that I visit, it will make recommendations on sites that I might want to visit, or I can go in and tag certain sites just to show up on that. You'll see the screenshot there on that dashboard of what's important to me. Because depending on your org size, I mean, you could have hundreds, if not thousands, of different SharePoint sites and resources throughout the organization that you may need to access. So it's important to surface the stuff that's important to you. Smarter email and calendaring with Outlook, huge investment in collaboration on Outlook. Ben showed you the Focus Inbox. There's cloud attachments. Not sure if you've noticed that feature when you go to attach a file from your OneDrive, gives you an attachment. It's great for some of our employees that are resistant to the cloud, and the way they're going to send documents is over email, and you can't change them. They're always going to do that. They're always going to complain when they have a really big attachment and they can't get it through the email system. But if it's on their OneDrive, they attach it. It feels like they're attaching a file, but it's actually got a little cloud icon on it, and it's really just a holder for that file living on SharePoint or OneDrive, so everybody's happy. App mentions are built within Outlook now. We use it at Microsoft, hugely useful. If I'm calling out people, I just app mention them within the text, within the body of that email, and then when somebody sends me an email, I could just see where my name is highlighted. I've been mentioned. I know I probably have an action item. I mentioned groups being integrated as well. OneDrive. Still a huge investment. I know we've had a lot of challenges with OneDrive, and I would say with our next generation client, a lot of those challenges have been solved with OneDrive. Our goal is to just have a seamless sync experience from your computer up into OneDrive, make it as easy as possible, really for you to collaborate on OneDrive. First, you need the peace of mind to know that your files are up there, and if something happens to your computer, doesn't matter. You can simply just spin up a new computer, sync your OneDrive, but also give you the ability to easily share files with your colleagues, right? Sometimes it can be so difficult to get a big presentation over to someone else to review, whether they're internal or external. And there's that integration built right within the Office apps. When I'm working on a presentation and I want to share it with my manager in PowerPoint, I'll simply go into PowerPoint and hit share in the upper right corner, type in my manager's name, and he has the presentation. It's all handled behind the scenes. He sent a link to OneDrive, and everybody's happy, and it was very little effort on my part. Cloud communications with Skype, right? Huge investments that you've probably familiar with over the past year and a half on the Skype platform. We have sessions. There's actually probably most of the UC people are probably in another general session running right now that we had specifically for Skype, but just know with Skype, we have that, it's always had VoIP, right? Anyone showing presence in Skype, you can do a voice over IP call, but now we have PSTN integration available in the US, so you can make those, spin up your Skype client, type in a phone number, and call outside of the Skype network through the PSTN network. We partner with several communication providers to make that happen, and it is part of our E5 SKU and available standalone now and available in the US. Investments on web conferencing, cloud PBX. We're starting this journey. I'm not sure a lot of companies have started this yet, but we're starting a journey of really leveraging the cloud as our PBX. Most of us in the room, you're in organizations, you already have a PBX, but we do have a hybrid model where you could start trying out cloud PBX in Office 365. Basically, that's it's a full functioning PBX solution in the cloud. So if you don't have anything on premises, you have PSTN connectivity through our PSTN service on Skype, you really could have a purely cloud phone system. The reality is most of our customers are connecting their existing phone systems, onboarding some users up, doing that that Skype hybrid connection up into Cloud PBX and starting to leverage really the cloud for making their phone calls. Something else I want to call out, meeting broadcasts. That's a new service that we have. A lot of us have probably had really large Skype meetings where it sometimes can be difficult to manage, right? Where you have 240 people joined and somebody's unmuted and driving in their car, their dog's barking, the doorbell rang. With meeting broadcasts, it's all browser-based, and you can have up to 10,000 participants. And basically, there's a Skype client for the presenters, but the attendees just are streaming, right, up to 10,000. So we use that for our some of our internal webinars at Microsoft. It's a great solution that allows you that. It's scalable for up to 10,000 right now. And then there, of course, there's the whole Skype across device story. We have continued investment in really cool Skype devices, out there, through various UC vendors. In-app integration, right? We're investing in integrating Skype into all the Office apps and have that open API for you to place your Skype buttons to make those phone calls in other apps as well. Mobile apps, huge investment there, whether you're on Android, Windows phones, iOS, to be able to just quickly join that Skype meeting. I know I'm using it, Ben's using it, and a lot of you are probably using the Skype mobile apps and in-room systems. So really cool conference room systems that we've recently released where you can, and we have this internally at Microsoft, you can walk into a conference room, the system's there, your meeting is on the system because you booked the conference room, you just press a button and you're joining your meeting, right? And the conference system is joining the meeting. So before, what did we do? We brought our laptop, we had to connect, and I had to use my laptop to run the meeting. The conference system does that now. So hugely beneficial, gives us a lot of flexibility in scheduling our meetings. To round out collaboration, there's Yammer. We're still heavily invested in Yammer. Common question is, okay, you've got a lot of collaboration solutions. When do I use Yammer? Typically, when I talk to customers, the way I see them using it is really that openness, open team discussion. Everyone pretty much has the same access. We just go in, we post, we collaborate, we have conversations, we help each other out. It really is designed to cross departments, go across teams, so everybody's sharing information. We're still heavy users at Microsoft. A lot of orgs use it as that knowledge base, right? You go into Yammer and you have a customer engagement, you'll post some best practices there just to solicit feedbacks from colleagues across the company. And a lot of folks, a lot of leadership say it's a great platform for them to gauge the pulse of their company, just to see what's going on, what's happening in the general sentiment across the board. So I talked about collaboration, and Ben is going to do a quick demo on collaboration, then we'll dive into intelligence.
Okay, so let's flick over here, and let's not do mail. I can do mail, and let's do mail. Why not? So I'm going to go through a couple of things, and I'll call this out. None of these demos are related. They're more me showing you some of the cool things that we have. And one of the first things I wanted to show you, I showed you in the keynote how Outlook takes action cards on the phone, makes it easier to process your email. And I wanted to quickly step over to the Outlook client and show you exactly how that works once we scale that up to a full-blown client. This is that same email I showed you this morning during the keynote. And you can see here that I have that same action card experience, first of all, as I move up to that full desktop experience. So I can see all my flight information. I have those same actions that I had in there before. So if I want to go straight to the Delta website and check in, I can do that. And the beauty of this is that it doesn't matter what device I'm on, because mobility is not just about being on a small device. It's about me being able to move from this device to my Surface, to my desktop PC, to a tablet, to an iPad, to whatever the devices I want to work on, and having that experience follow me in a way that makes sense for that screen size. And so this is something that helps me to get through that email quicker and allows me to then be able to work with others as well more effectively at the same time. The other thing I wanted to call attention to is, as Mike said, we have this concept of Office 365 groups, or I think what's officially named Outlook groups now. We have Microsoft Teams and we have Yammer. We also have SharePoint, and one of the questions we tend to get a lot of is, what do I use when, and where does all this kind of mix in together? Now, groups is really kind of the foundational piece of technology that powers a lot of the experiences we're seeing now. And so groups, first of all, showed up within the Outlook client. You can see here I have a bunch of groups that I'm a member of here for marketing campaigns and mobile device marketing and online marketing and those kind of things. And you can see I have the conversations that sit within this group and the information that sits in there as well. In addition to that, I also have access to, as part of that group, a shared calendar, shared files, and a shared notebook. And this is really key because when we think about bringing a group of people together, they have those shared resources they want to work on. And the other reason that's key is that as I move over to Teams here, and I go through and create new teams, if you have a look across the top of my current chat for this channel, you'll notice I have conversations, files, and notes, which is leveraging that group's platform in the background. So this is the same group's infrastructure that Teams is built on, which means it's using the same security and the same uptime and backup and all those kind of things that we have within the Office 365 platform that groups takes advantage of. And the reason we have that kind of foundation available in multiple areas is we're aware of the fact that not everyone works the same. There isn't a silver bullet solution that you can put into an organization and say, everyone's going to work this way now, because you'll always have that group of noisy people or that one really noisy person who says, but I don't want to work like that. And so the reason we have these tools is so that people can work more effectively in the way they like to work. Now we're in Teams. Let me take a little bit of time to talk about some of the other things I didn't get to talk about this morning that set Teams apart, or sets Microsoft Teams apart as a chat-based workspace. Now, I talked about the left rail and integration with Skype and how we have teams and channels within those teams. But again, coming back to these tabs at the top, these tabs across the top are all customizable. When I first create a new channel, I get a conversation, files, and notes tab. But I can also put up my own custom tabs up here as well. And so, for example, what I have here in this channel specifically, we're looking at an arts and media festival. And I can actually publish up a file that's sitting within OneDrive as a tab so people can easily see things like where the event budget's at. I can also connect into Power BI, Planner, Word documents, and those kind of things. And we're actually working with a number of vendors out there as well. So people in the likes of, I'm trying to think of the name off the top of my head now, Zendesk and those kind of areas. So you can put ticketing systems in within the Teams experience as well on your own custom tabs. And so this can be completely extended to include your own line of business applications if need be as well. In addition to that, we also have a concept of what we call connectors. And so we have extended experiences with tabs across the top, and we have connectors that allow you to have access to all of the connectors that we have for the Outlook experience today to be able to do things like bring information back into your team. For example, in this scenario where we have an arts and media festival, I could add a Twitter connector to be able to track hashtags and get social sentiment right back into my team without people having to go out and source that information and have that connector post directly into my team and authorize that. So another great way to be able to extend that experience and provide an area for people to be able to work together more effectively. Now, Teams is a great way to bring people together to work more effectively. And one of the big questions we've gotten since launching this product is, well, what about Yammer? And so Yammer is still here. It's not going away. And it's still the way I tend to think about Yammer is more an all-encompassing organizational threaded conversation environment. And I guess the best way to think about this is when I have a question and I don't know who knows the answer, that's where Yammer comes into play. When I want to post this out, but I don't want to do the all-company email that ends up in a mailstorm of people hitting reply all, I can put that into Yammer and have all of those subject matter experts within the company be able to come back to that and have those conversations back. Now, of course, there is the perfect ability here to be able to run a group within this and a team within Yammer as well and be able to build in a private area for people to work. And we don't want to disable that because we want people who work that way to be able to continue to work that way and also have the benefits of Teams. So these are some of the ways that we're bringing people together to be able to collaborate more effectively. All right, I'm going to jump back to you and we'll move over. I can.
Thank you, Ben. All right, so let's tackle mobility and then we'll get into intelligence. Obviously, we've made a lot of points. Ben's shown a lot of features about that mobile experience. Mentioned Outlook is the highest rated app. How many are using on your mobile device the Outlook app to manage your email? Right, so not surprising. It's excellent, and we're hugely invested, as Ben showed, in improving that. And you notice with Outlook, right, and mobility, it just looks and feels like your Outlook. If you go to Outlook web app, that looks and feels like Outlook. If you even go to Outlook.com, your consumer email, that looks and feels like Outlook. So we're really striving for consistency around that. And really, it's a huge focus. It's always a main pillar just to be able to access your stuff anywhere, anytime, from any device, right? Computer, kiosk computer, mobile device, tablet. And so, we have a huge investment there. Here you'll just see, some of the look and feel of that Outlook experience. I think Ben did a better job in the keynote demo showing off what that looks like. Of course, you can connect all your accounts. I know in my Outlook app I have a Hotmail account, I have a Gmail account, I have my Microsoft Business, Office 365 account. I have views where I can get all email all in one inbox, or depending on what I'm doing, I'll go into just the view of my work email during the work day. So, productivity anywhere, that means we have to make that familiar application, PowerPoint, Word, Excel. It needs to work, and it needs to show me all the details, because trust me, we have a lot of investments in those applications in terms of adding, pictures, charts, different graphics. It has to render on every device. I think we've done a really good job making sure, my PowerPoint that I built for the presentation on my computer, I can quickly review that while I'm in the cab on the way to the presentation on my mobile device. And that's typically, I'll go into email, I'll open it up, I'll go into my OneDrive, I'll open it up, and I will review my Office documents. I can even edit them on the device. And then, of course, there's a huge investment in the online version of that Office suite, Excel online, PowerPoint online, right? And it's getting better and better. A lot of us, I would guarantee, are still, when push comes to shove, we use the clients, right? The client's not going anywhere. We all love our clients, has a ton of functionality, but we are continually improving that online experience as well, and adding more features and more functionality, because in that access anytime, anywhere model, there might be times where I don't have access to my clients. I don't want to install the full client, but I need to be productive. Jason talked about enterprise mobility plus security. It's a huge story. It's a huge companion solution with Office 365, right? If you're on Office 365, you're leveraging all the benefits of productivity. You're going to have to secure that investment. Oftentimes when I was in the field, our salespeople, when we sell Office 365, we always recommend you need to have EMS accompanying it, so you can secure that investment. And it's not just putting a policy on iPhones that requires you to requires you to put a code when you get on your phone. Yes, it will do that, but it's also taking it to the application level. I think Jason mentioned this in the keynote, but being able to log into Office 365 on your phone, open up a company Word document that has a policy assigned to it, and then I copy and paste from that Word document. I try to go and paste it into my Gmail mail, and it won't do it. Why? Because the policy's there. It'll let me paste it into my corporate email, but not my consumer personal email. And so we can really get granular in our control of these devices, iPads, tablets, phones of all form factors. We can also control applications. We can publish applications, make them available to download recommended applications. That's using the Intune part of the EMS, Enterprise Mobility Suite. So let's talk about intelligence, and we'll spend a little time on this, and I know Ben is going to show some cool intelligence features because it is a huge investment for us, and I would say this is one of our more recent investments. And so we have a lot to share that I would guess is new to you. So that means, behind the scenes, artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning. It doesn't mean if you're on Office 365, you don't have to become a machine learning expert. That's more of the Azure side of things. But just know that we're using those services for Office 365 basically to surface content to you, make it easier for you to be productive. We use something called the Microsoft Graph. What is the Microsoft Graph? It's not something you really need to be concerned with, but think of it as the behind-the-scenes machine learning platform that really goes out and analyzes all of Office 365, right? And it connects through edges and nodes. It connects every detail, every document on Office 365, conversations, and it links them together and surfaces results to you through applications like Delve and My Analytics. So, speaking of Delve, I believe we saw a little bit of Delve. I use Delve in my role really to see what others are working on instead of reaching out to Ben and asking, hey, where's that document you said you were working on? I'd love it if you could share it with me. I will go into Delve. I will go click on Ben because he is listed as one of my frequent collaborators. I'll click on his Delve account and I will see the latest documents he's working on, right? Invasive? It can be, but these are all documents that he has shared publicly. So these are open for anyone to view. If Ben wants to restrict access to those documents, obviously they will not show up. But you can gain a lot of insight, save a lot of time, right? That's what's important, saving time. I don't have to reach out, find Ben, and ask him to email me a link to the documents. So hugely beneficial. That's one of our newest solutions. It's right in your Office 365 tenants. So certainly be sure to check it out. Ben showed My Analytics in the keynote demo, so I won't really dive more into that. But again, it's tracking that personal productivity. It's for your own benefit, right? Not being reviewed by your manager. He's not looking and saying, geez, Mike, you only worked 5 hours of overtime this week. No, this is for my own productivity. Help me balance my work life. And also really just help me, really at Microsoft the big problem is too many meetings, so it helps me understand how much time I'm spending in meetings. When I'm in meetings, I'm typically not doing work. But intelligence isn't just with My Analytics and Delve, it's also built right into the app, right, into the apps. Ben showed in the keynote, he showed Quick Starter with PowerPoint. That's intelligence, right? There's a bunch of other features I think he's going to show in his demo, like PowerPoint Designer, just quickly helping you design, take those boring slides, Word Tap, PowerPoint Zoom. Chances are you haven't heard of these features, and they're right built in within PowerPoint. So it's super cool, and hopefully you'll leave with that today. And then, of course, there's the whole insights layer with really, our BI model, right? Power BI with Excel. And, we say it's part of Office 365 because most of that BI work that we're doing, taking data, we all typically do it, right? Taking multiple Excel spreadsheets, creating data connections, really trying to get insights. Of course, we'll do a Power Pivot, we'll do some queries, bring in data, and then we'll build dashboards. So you could do so much in Excel, and then when you're ready to share it and really turn it into that true BI solution, that's when you publish it to Power BI. And we also have, in the works, a Power BI dashboard for Office 365 that shows you all of your, it takes what's available in the admin center to see your usage statistics for Office 365 and just goes way beyond that. That's in the works. The preview is available now, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But at this point, instead of talking about it, let's have Ben show us some of these really cool intelligence features.
Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to go whirlwind through a whole bunch of products here. And one of the things I want to call out is that when we think about intelligence, or when I think about intelligence, especially in the Office suite, I kind of compare it to early 3D movies. Do you remember when 3D first came out and the whole idea of 3D was this person like pointing out of the screen to you, and so you had like this finger and be like, whoa, it's 3D. And then something like Avatar came out where 3D was really subtle. It was more immersive, and it was something that kind of helped you. And I find the same with intelligence within Office. If we think back to intelligence originally, or the kind of first attempts we made at it with things like Clippy being able to say, hey, I see you're working on a Word document. Do you want me to help you with that? That was the version of someone like pointing out of the movie screen and slapping you in the face and saying, do you need help with this? Intelligence features now are so much more subtle. They just help you get your job done without interrupting your flow or interrupting what you're doing. And it's going to go through some of those. I want you to keep that in mind as you're thinking about how these intelligence features manifest throughout the applications. I'm going to start in Word, and I showed you some of the features in the keynote around how we're helping people to be able to work better by create better content with the Word editor features. But we've also got this new feature called Document Item Tap. And what this does is it actually brings the power of the Microsoft Graph right into Word. And so what I'm doing here, by clicking the Document Item Tap link, I'm actually getting a list of my most recent documents I've been working on. Now this is a demo environment, so the list is not heavily populated. But what this allows me to do is to reuse work that I've done in a document I'm building. So when we think about how we work with documents today, Word is a really great way for me to be able to build all-up reports, or reports that are bringing multiple documents together. And so rather than needing to go out and find that document and open it up and copy what I want out and put it in, I can do all of this now right from within Word using the power of the Microsoft Graph. Now I'm going to go and search for a specific document I know is out there on the web or on my Delve environment. And I'm going to go ahead and hit search for the T-shirt forecast, which is an Excel document. You'll notice what's happened here is Word's gone and looked at that document, and you can see it's actually itemized that document and brought up all of the charts and things that I can leverage from that document within this Word report that I'm putting together. If I hit the little plus button there, I can actually drill in and start to see all of the objects that exist within that document that I can go and insert into my Word document. And so to do that, I simply, and I'm going to bring this back up just a bit here, to insert that, I simply hit Add Chart. And you'll see what happens there is that chart is directly inserted into my Word document. Now I can do this with as many as I like. I can go and insert different charts in there. And the beauty is this isn't a screenshot. This isn't just a frame from the document that I'm pulling it from. It's the actual chart. So as I then go into that chart and decide, you know what, that really doesn't match the look and feel of my Word document, I can go and reformat using the standard charting engine that we have within Office so that I can start to bring that in and reuse that work without having to jump out of a document, lose context, and jump around my applications as part of that. So really great ways for me to be able to work across applications. I'm going to switch gears. Because we were in charts, I want to also move over to Excel and show you some of the things we're working on. And at the moment exist as third-party add-ins, but we're working to bring to the Excel application natively as well. And one of those is around how you actually work with data more effectively. And so what I can see here is I have a bunch of feedback information here. And this actually came from text-based comments on feedback on a T-shirt that we'd put out. And it's all text-based feedback. So we can see it's things like great, it's perfect, easy but not so good, poor customer service, product okay, good, etc. And so the problem is here is that I want to take this and I want to use this data more effectively, or data. And I'm going to interchange data and data because I'm Australian and haven't figured out how I want to say it yet, so I apologize. But I want to be able to use this more effectively so I can use it and start to chart with it. And so what I have here is an Azure Machine Learning add-in for Excel. This is available today and anyone can get access to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my input range, which in this case is my text-based data. And I've got 1,600 rows, actually 1,677 rows. And I'm simply going to come into here and select G1 as my output column. Let's go all the way back up to the top. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Predict. And what's going to happen here is that data is going to be sent up to the cloud, and we're going to run a sentiment analysis over that. And you'll see within a couple of seconds, I've managed to get a sentiment analysis of positive, negative, neutral, as well as a confidence score that goes along with that based on that text information I had. And so the beauty is here, I've taken what was a huge list of information that I couldn't go and process out to anything, and I've now put this into a place where I can start to use this in the charting engine within Excel. Now the beauty is that all of this information has a location based with it as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, select the data I've got, and I'm going to go and insert our new map chart. Now the map chart is a new chart within Excel. It's based off the standard charting engine. But what this allows me to do is to create a 2D chart, in this case down to the county level, getting a look at that information. So I can now do sentiment analysis, in this case across the continental United States, really easily without needing to go out and fire up more complex tools or more memory-intensive tools like the bigger charting engine that we have with, and I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head and I can't, like 3D maps and those kind of things. But it allows me to be able to chart this information visually really, really simply as well. Now at the moment I've only got data in here for the continental US, but if I was to scale this out to the globe, that would continue to branch out to the rest of the world as well. And that chart will expand and contract depending on what information I have in there. So really useful tools, taking advantage of both intelligence in the cloud and also new charting engine as well. All right, let's move over to some of the things that we promised, which is around PowerPoint as well, because we've got some really cool tools in here. And the first is a feature you may or may not have seen yet, but it's a feature called Designer. And what this does is takes things like images that I put into slides and uses those to then suggest to me slide designs. And again, this is really subtle intelligence in what we're doing here, because we're not just looking at those images and going, hey, you could lay them out this way or that way, but we're also doing really, really subtle things like salient region detection. What that means is that we're looking at the focal point of the two images I have here, and we're ensuring that no matter what design you select, that focal point is kept in focus. We're also looking at the color composition of those images as well. And so you'll notice that we've got these other kind of trailing boxes here on the start and finish of those images that match the colors. And so it doesn't feel like those images are just being crammed into something that doesn't make sense. It actually feels like it's part of that slide design. So that's one of the ways we're making it easier for you to be able to create beautiful slides and beautiful output. We've also made it even easier for you to create more engaging slides as well. And how many people here work on PowerPoint in depth? Yeah, a couple people like tentatively putting their hands up. It's okay, you can be proud of it. But one of the big things is, how do I take a slide and make it engaging? And we used to do this with animations, and I have an animation pane here that you can see trails off to about the 8th or 7th circle of hell. And what this does, I'm going to hit play, and this is literally all of this animation does. Makes my tables move, makes me, it's kind of pretty. And it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. You'll notice that it now starts to overlap. There's still some things I need to do to fix that. But it was a lot of work to get it to this point.
We used to pay a vendor a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
But what you'll see here is I've got those same slides down here in different frames of how I want them. And I'm going to use a new feature in PowerPoint called Morph. And what Morph does is it actually looks at those slides, and more importantly, the objects on those slides, and creates animation paths for me. So I'm going to come to my transition tab, and I'm going to apply the morph transition here. And what I'll do is I'll put this up full screen, and let me make sure I'm not going to go present a view. I'm going to put this up to full screen, and what's going to happen here is that all I've done is applied a single transition. I've done nothing else to these slides. But PowerPoint's looked at the objects, it's looked at their current starting and finish location, has gone and created these beautiful animations for me that are perfect every time. And so without the need for me to have all the great animation tools available to me, I can actually go and create this with the click of a button. I can actually even take it a step further. I'm going to use these two slides here. I'm going to go and apply the same morph transition on here, but I'm going to apply another effect on this as well, which is I'm going to do this down to a character level. And so what we can do is now as I move between slides, I can get effects that I could never do with the animation pane, which is to be able to have all of my text reshuffle and move from slide to slide. And these are really simple things, but they help create engaging content that people can actually start to look at slides and not be so bored anymore with things that are going on. So great ways to kind of spice up your presentation. Now, one of the other things we've put in there as well when it comes to spicing up your presentation is a feature called PowerPoint Zoom. Now, how many people have gone into a presentation and you have your flow, you have 10 slides, 15 slides, 100 slides, whatever it happens to be, and you're ready to go start to finish, and someone says, that's great, all I want to see is what you know is on slide 15, right? And so you end up going to get through to the slide you want. Now, one of the beauties of PowerPoint Zoom is it allows me to take a presentation and create a non-linear progression through that. And so what I'm going to do is I have this entire presentation on Martin Luther King, and I'm going to go and insert a new summary zoom. What this does is brings up all my slides for me, and I want to simply go and select the different areas or sections that I have within my slides. And it's simply a matter of selecting the ones I want. I'll go through and I'll select his March on Washington. We'll go to Assassination and Aftermath and Legacy. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Insert. And what we do is we get this new slide created with the 6 objects that I selected. And these are actual objects, so I can go and resize those round so I can actually make that slide look nice. And what this allows me to do now is that if I come into my presentation and someone comes up to me and says, all I really care about, Ben, is information that you have on the March on Washington, I can say, great, click on that section, and I'm taken straight into that section in the presentation. Now, as I go through the slides that are in that section, and I finish that section, I then go back to my summary zoom, so then I can start to jump back out to different areas and start to progress my way through the presentation in any way I want. So really, really rich tools that help me be super effective and create great output. So just, like I said, subtle intelligence things that help us be more effective and help create better content. The other area we've made a progression as well within this is within the Office 365 environment itself. And one of the things that we tend to make a lot of changes on within Office 365 is we add new features and we create things that not everyone knows how to access. And so how many people have heard of Tell Me? Tell Me was a feature we released into Office a little while ago where you could ask questions of the Office client and get functionality and features back. We've now built that functionality directly into the Office 365 portal as well. And so if you click the question mark here within Office 365, I can come into that and I can ask anything I want. So in this case, I've got Create Calendar, but maybe I want to change the theme of my Office 365 environment. And so by typing in theme, you'll notice I now get access direct to that functionality. Rather than needing to source my way through settings and find out where to change the themes, I can do that. I can also do it with things like creating calendar items. And so if I want to say, in this case, compose a calendar item, the moment I click on that link, I actually get taken straight to Outlook, and it'll take a second to load, into my calendar, and then I have a new blank calendar item ready to go. So these are some of the ways that we're using the same engine within Tell Me now directly within Office 365 to help people be able to find functionality as well and be more effective in the way they're working. Okay, let me switch.
All right, hopefully you learned something new there. I know I did on that last bit. It's a new addition. So let's talk about trust, and then we'll explore a little bit about management in the Office 365 Admin Center. But as you know, my experience talking to many customers over the years is trust is hugely important and a top priority. And a lot of you are on Office 365. Of course, it's still a priority. You have to answer, if you're not leadership, to your leadership and explain how your data is safe, how your data is being subject to privacy guidelines. And then you have new industry compliance standards that pop up, right? So our focus on trust, and we have the Office 365 Trust Center. It's one of my favorite resources. You can go there and you learn all about this. Let me just give you a brief overview. We talk about security and really what we're doing around securing, our on the software layers and physical security, privacy, conversation in itself, what's our privacy policy, and then transparency, stuff about the data centers. Where are our data centers? Where does your data reside? You're on Office 365, you saw this big map of data centers. Where actually is your data center? We try to be as transparent as possible. And then there's stuff like government requests. Who is asking for access to your data? Who is, what law enforcement agencies in the US, in other countries are making requests, making access requests. And we're as transparent as possible on that. We have sites in the Trust Center dedicated to listing out those requests, and we share as much information as we can. So on the compliance side, as Jason mentioned, we really are industry leaders in attaining the most compliance certifications. If there's a new one out, if we don't have it, we're testing for it, right? So rest assured, we have a story around every compliance certification. That's typically when you talk to your local rep, you ask about it, we'll guide you through that process, and then you can go to the Trust Center to find more information on that. We have full audit tracking on events that occur. You could request those reports. We have some built-in auditing in our admin center, and just know this is always improving. And then we have features, around compliance with, where you can be active and do like advanced e-discovery, right? We've made some acquisitions in the past on our e-discovery agents built into Office 365. pretty much the industry-leading solution for discovering data, doing searches for legal reasons, and putting that data on a hold so you can officially have a record of it and provide it to the analysts that need to. Then on a privacy front, we've always been clear. Our privacy statement is on the Trust Center. You could read that. Typically, that's something that's always reviewed prior to signing on to Office 365. We have a commitment that we don't mine customer data for advertising, right? Anything we'll be doing with your data is regarding improving your service or going in and via a trouble ticket if we have to access that data. And then we even take it further. We have a feature called Customer Lockbox, where if you sign up for that, it's part of our E5 suite. You can control which engineers at Microsoft have access to your data in the customer lockbox. Basically, you open up a ticket, you assign, you say, okay, I'm giving you access between noon and 4 p.m. Go fix it, and then I'm going to revoke your access. A lot of customers have asked for that, and so that's something we've added based on customer demand. We talked about our enterprise protection just as a whole. How are you protected? Encryption across the board at rest and in transit, pretty much satisfying most customer needs there. DLP is built into Office 365, data loss prevention, creating your own policies in the admin center to ensure your data is not leaking. Historically, we use third-party products. We route our email through a separate gateway. That's included right now. It has been for a while in Office 365, where you can protect social security numbers, credit cards, keywords, and really gain insight into what's going on your email platform. We talked about Intune already. Windows Information Protection, that's protecting your data at a document level. RMS, right? We're all familiar with RMS throughout the years. That was the protection server. And then it was Azure Rights Management. Now it's Windows Information Protection. Or there's Azure Information Protection on the Azure side. Then there's Windows Information Protection at the Windows 10 client side as well, where we protect that data. So we really do have protection across the board at that application level as well, not just at the gateway level. And then, of course, we have ability to classify data, with your confidential, open, type policies. Name your policies whatever you want. We have the ability to do that at a document level. It's something every company should certainly review. Go over your data, classify it, and just addressing security, common security challenges. Just because we know that there are issues. Jason shared it in the keynote. I won't go through these, but we just know that typically it takes a long time to identify, get insight into security issues. Our tools make sure, if not real time, make sure that you have insight into any security issues that are going on, and that's across the full range of products. A recent development, we dive into this in our Office 365 security session that's coming up, I believe today, this afternoon. But this gives us our, it's an enhanced visibility just into controlling your Office 365. This is an environment. This is a new portal, ASM, Advanced Security Management. It's where we can be proactive about our threat detection, and it surfaces us that abnormal usage going on and security incidents, somebody logging in from different continents, that sort of stuff. We don't have to go search for that happening. It's just surfaced to us, right? Because we don't have the time to go search for that. And then just, at this portal, ASM, it's where you initiate all your control on security. So it gives you kind of that one place to control all your policies. And then basically there is a feature that really allows you to see the application activity or tackling shadow IT issues in your organization. No agents required, so it's basically telling you what's being run, what other applications are users running in the organization that may be at risk, and that surfaces in the ASM portal as well. So if we talk about management from a whole, we do have our, and what really should be important to you, we have our roadmap. Not sure how many of you have checked out our rolling Office 365 public roadmap, roadmap.office365.com. That's where you see, basically, me being a product manager for Office, I don't have much more insight into the roadmap than what's on that site. We try to be as transparent as possible, go out about 90 days, and we share with you what's being worked on, what was just delivered, what's in the process of being rolled out, and what's coming, so you can have insight. Historically, you would have to contact your sales rep, sign an NDA, and then get this big, long presentation. We're trying to be as transparent as possible because the cloud is fast, it's moving, and just make sure you bookmark that site. First release program. How many of you are on the first release, right? This is a hugely important. A lot of 365 hands went up. First release is basically, it's a program that you would put in your IT department, power users, anyone that wants to get the new 365 features first, so you can test them out, see how they affect your organization, then everyone else will get them 30 days later. It's the first release program, and a lot of companies leverage this just so there aren't any surprises. You don't have a flood of user calls Monday morning after we rolled out a new feature and everyone's saying, what the heck is this? Gives you that chance to prepare, and it's something I recommend everyone be a part of if you're in IT. And then, of course, management on the go. If you're an Office 365 admin, I guarantee you have the Office 365 admin app. This really just allows us the flexibility of not having to be really glued to our desk, right? We can, on the go, as we're walking around the office, at lunch, at home, we can do quite a bit of administrative activities with our mobile app, and we're continually investing here. We know it's important. We know the modern admin is certainly not sitting at their desk all day with the admin center out there. So I know we don't have a ton of time, but I think Ben has a few admin features he's going to show you right now.
Sure. So I actually have no time because the counter's going up instead of down. So I'll take quick whirlwind tour of the new admin console and just show you some of the changes updates we've made to that. We recently released changes into the first release program and preview for the admin center updates. What this allows you to do is, as an admin, you can now customize the admin dashboard to really be focused around the things that you're interested in. So this is the new admin center within Office 365. You can see access to all of the standard features that I'd expect down the side here on the left of my users, groups, resources, billing, etc. However, in the center here, I can actually go ahead and start to, I'm going to go and dismiss that coffee I created earlier. I can actually come into here and make changes as well. And so if I want, I can actually start to add new panes into this area. I can edit that and create new controls in here as I want to. But what this allows me to do is gives me quick access into the things that are important to me. So things like Service Health Dashboard, where I can now start to say the things that are important can show up there. I can also go and put things like new usage reports in here as well. And so, for example, the new usage reports that Mike was talking about that we're working on actually start to give you a view into how your service is being used on every service level. And so as an admin, I now have a great view over what's actually happening on throughout my organization at a glance via this Power BI dashboard. And I can see things like my Office activations, how my storage on OneDrive is going, how many SharePoint sites I have, how many Skype for Business minutes are being used, which in this case is not many. And really start to get a view as to how my environment's tracking and how that's being used. Now, there is a bunch more I could show you, but I'm acutely aware of the fact we're over time, so I'm going to hand back to Mike to finish up.
I will close us out. We are absolutely committed to your success. We showed this slide in the keynote. I want to reiterate it. A couple resources here that my team is deeply involved with. We have the mechanics videos. We know you don't want to sit through 75-minute videos on Microsoft products. These are 5-minute chunks. A colleague of ours does all of them, and he sits down with the experts at Microsoft. Check it out. You will learn so much. It's a great way to keep up to speed because within a few weeks of a release, Jeremy Chapman has them in studio doing the mechanics videos. And then the tech community, someone on my team, Anna actually in the front row, is responsible for the tech community. This is a new platform for basically for community across Microsoft, Windows, Azure, Office 365, for you to go and really leverage each other, make new connections. All the content, for example, of the Tech Summit is posted on the community as well and linked to. And so it's just, if you're in IT and responsible for Office 365, you really need to leverage this resource. Fast Track is, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Fast Track. Basically, it is our free service to get you onto Office 365, not just on, but to start using it. So a lot of you raised your hand. You're Office 365 users. If your organization is over 50 people, call the Fast Track team, engage with them. They will help you plan usage and deployment strategies for all of the Office 365 suite, or any part of the Office 365 suite. Say you're not ready to do, you're on 365, you got it a year ago, but you want to roll out Skype for Business, you want to roll out SharePoint team sites. They will guide you through this and give you project plans, engineering resources for free. It's included. A lot of people know Fast Track for deployment. They'll help you deploy, but they don't know that they will help you use it and really customize your platform and really work with your users to get adoption within the organization. So there's also a session over the next 2 days specifically on the Fast Track program. I am sorry, this is small, but this is what's coming up for the next 2 days. These are all the Office sessions. I didn't include the Office dev sessions. Those are dev specific. But just coming up in the next hour, we have something on groups, Exchange folks, talking about hybrid, right, in a session coming up. We have a Skype session. Ben talked about the Admin Center. If you want to go to an hour on just Office 365 admin, we have what's new in the Office 365 management session coming up. Take a picture or just go to the Tech Summit page and you'll find all these sessions if you filter by Office 365. Everything I talked about pretty much today, there's a specific session diving into it over the next 2 days. So we're way over time. Appreciate everyone coming. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you tonight at the Ask the Experts and get to talk to you. Thank you.